I grew up with Prince's music. We're the same age, but I wasn't interested in Prince. I didn't understand him, and I didn't connect with him. I thought he was strange and a little too weird. My interest in music was more in rock and roll when I was younger, and blues and different things. But I couldn't connect to Prince. I just didn't know what it was. And then a couple of his bandmates, Des Dickerson and Andre Simone, I don't know if you know those guys, but and a friend of mine who was trying to direct a movie about Prince, they were going to do the earlier years. And when I started looking at making this movie, I was coming in just as the business guy. Find the money, put it together, do the contracts, because they didn't know how to do any of that. And they really didn't know how to make a movie. It was their first attempt. But I very shortly realized that there was a problem. And the problem was this, was that everyone that was connected to Prince, now that he's gone, they wanted the limelight for themselves. So it's like, this is what I did with Prince. This is what I know about Prince. This is my time with Prince. In fact, some of the books are called My Time with Prince. But it was all about them. It wasn't about Prince. And I think there was a great jealousy amongst a lot of those people, performers, that saw him rise to the level of stardom that he did. And, you know, he didn't bring all those people with him. So they felt left behind. And I was trying to find the story here. And what I found was a wall, a brick wall. Like, no one would talk to me about Prince. And I went to his community, like right to where he grew up. And people were very protective. So I met a group of his fans, very close fans of his. And I took them to dinner. And they looked at me like I was a monster, a creature coming in. Like, how dare you come in and try and do a story about our beloved Prince? And there was something there that I didn't understand. And what I started to open up, or when they started to open up with me, it was because they have a connection to this man that is beyond just a fan. You know, we love his music. He's cool. He's hip. He's sexy, or whatever. It went far beyond that, and it took me a while to understand that. But I focused. My concept was to focus. This man is no doubt a genius, and he had an incredible career. But to become that, you have to go back to the beginning and find out, where did they come from? How did they start? Like I mentioned, everybody in this room, when we were kids, maybe we were bullied by someone, or somebody said, you're stupid, or you're fat, or whatever. And that stays with you the rest of your life. It makes you the kind of person you are. So I really wanted to understand what made this guy a genius. And I was fascinated by it. When I went into the community, I met with a fellow by the name of Spike Moss, who's in the movie. And Spike is the most remarkable human being I think I've ever crossed paths with. Prince looked to him as his father, and Spike looked to Prince as a son. But it wasn't just Prince. Spike did that for all the children. It was the concept of that community, a community facility called The Way. And I spent a lot of time in the film about that. And the reason why is, it was Spike who changed so many lives, Prince and many others. And I wanted to understand how and why. This man had a very successful boxing career, would have made millions and millions of dollars, very successful. And he threw it all away to help get these kids off the street. First of all, that's very admirable. I mean, it was very unselfish to not continue with his career, because he was hanging out with Hollywood big stars and Muhammad Ali and all of these guys. And And he just wanted to help these kids. But it was his concept of how to help these kids that was not only brilliant then, and many kids succeeded, but it's brilliant today. And that's what makes this story whole. So the concept was to build this facility and help kids with everything, self-esteem, how to talk, how to walk, like have respect for yourself. It's not about me telling you what to do, just like yourself, because these kids had role models that were their older brothers that, were selling drugs or violence on the street. That's all these kids had to look up to. And what he wanted to do was to give them role models, different kinds of role models that they could follow the footsteps in. So he brought in successful people that came from his community, and they had to become mentors to the young kids. And as the young kids grew older and they went out and became successful, they would have to come back and help the new younger kids. And that really resonated with me, the concept of that. And I thought, wait a second, if it worked there, because it wasn't just Prince, so many other very successful people, Senator Bobby Brown, gosh, what's his name? There's so many. My mind is going because Jimmy Jam, Terry Lewis, these kinds of guys. They all came out of there. Many of them. Some became bankers, some became lawyers, and this was a very poor community. How did that happen? Well, it was because he taught them self-esteem. You can't just look to your brother who's selling drugs. You got to really find yourself. And I thought, wow, that's really cool. So the way shut down, it became a police station, and that was a bad thing for the community. And Prince went back to Spike, who was his father figure, and said, Spike, let's rebuild the way. Let's build it. And they found a facility. Prince bought it, and they were going to rebuild it and start again in that community. And then what happened? Prince passed away. He's gone. Spike was destroyed. He lost this kid. And in the movie, he tells you, he doesn't look at him as Prince. This is his kid, And when I met Spike, I was so honored to meet this man. To this day, I am completely overwhelmed by him. I understand what he did for Prince and those other fellows, and he has helped me a great deal. He's become my mentor. So he's a mentor to them. He's a mentor to everyone. In fact, the stories behind Spike is incredible. He was mentor to George Floyd, who was killed by the police officers. And the police and the FBI asked him to go in and handle and reduce the amount of tension within the community. That's how much they value this man. And so he was really a big part of this story. And then I befriended Shaka Khan, who was the most important person I wanted to find, because she knew Prince the longest, from when he was a kid to the day he passed away. Nobody really stayed with him other than Spike, and the local kids. So when I went into the community and they realized the type of movie that I wanted to make, they trusted me. CNN and all the other news stations tried to get interviews, and they just wouldn't give them because they wanted the dirt on Prince. They wanted to find the stuff behind and, make it provocative. What I wanted to do is I wanted to learn about the kid, the little kid that nobody knew about, and how did he become this genius? And subsequently, I wanted to call the film The Genesis of a Genius, what made him become. And that's why I was so focused on his surroundings and what he found. The things that I learned from childhood friends of his and people that grew up with him was that he didn't feel racism. That was shocking to me. It was a black community, predominantly black. White people were out, but racism was not an issue. The first time that he, are we okay? Okay. The first time that that he experienced racism was to another kid in the school that he saw. It was a Jewish kid or whatever, and he was beaten up. And that's the first moment of racism that Prince ever experienced. He'd never known that kind of hate, because in their community it was like predominantly black, and there wasn't like, gang fights and all that stuff. And so as he grew older and had that pride, he wanted to be a person that shared his music with everyone, whether you were white, black, green, purple, didn't matter. He wanted everyone to come together. And I say this often because it's the most important thing to me. Prince was all about teaching the meaning of love and unity. Love is a word that people throw around. It's an easy word. It's a hard word. It's just thrown around. But Prince found a way of making people understand what love really means. And I can tell you, I'm not kind of a pushover. It's not like a cult around Prince. It was the absolute generosity of this human being. He cared about other people more than he cared about himself. And I tell people that the amount of money that he should have been sitting on when he passed away should have been in the billions. And I found out why there was only really 300 million left in his estate. And that's because his generosity was so vast. It blew me away. I realized growing up, I didn't know who this guy was at all. In fact, I was so 180 degrees off of what I thought he was. Because now I'm talking to the people, the kids that grew up with him, the kids in the community, not the outside people, not the people who looked at him as a performer, but the people that knew him as a human being. And once he started becoming successful, his generosity started to grow. He was a ghost philanthropist. He never wanted anyone to know that he was giving away money, he was doing whatever. But whatever money he had, he would help people on the street. He gave them homes, and he swore them to secrecy. Don't tell anybody about this. I happen to find out, and there's many things I can't share with you that he did, that he gave people. But some of them are on the record, like the young woman, Sam, who is a friend of mine. I don't even think this is in the movie, but Sam was one of his fans, and he knew about her, and he found out that her and her mother were being evicted, and he got them a home and put them in a home. And then as she talks about it, and she doesn't tell people this, but I know this is what happened, and I'm sharing it. There's some things that I should share and some things I shouldn't, but his generosity should be shared. He never wanted the pat on the back. He never wanted people to know. And that's what makes it so unusual for me. Like, why is someone so easily generous without wanting the accolades of being a generous person? We all have ego. Why did he not want people to know? And it was because he truly loved these people. And he taught that. So he taught love and unity. And when I started to learn about this, I started to realize, now I understand why these fans are so crazy about Prince. It's not his music. It's not his craziness. It's not the sexiness or any of that stuff. It's the messaging that he put across, love and unity of all of us. I don't care who you are, you come in. And from day one, Prince was like that. He never, ever separated anyone. When I go to Minneapolis or any city that has a Prince party today, you will find every race, color, age group, everything from 18-year-olds to 80-year-olds. I've been to some of the other big performers' venues. It's not like that. It's just not like that. This is so unique and so unusual. And the reason why is he resonated with these people. He resonated with his fans that he loved so deeply. He cared about people. And I never believed that about him until I made this movie. And then I really understood who this man was and why people didn't want me to make a documentary. Once they understood that I don't want to talk about dirt. I just want to celebrate him, his life, who he is, because he was such a great person, not just the best musician around, because I've entered major musicians all over the world, the biggest names you can imagine from, the Beatles across the board, and they all say the same thing. He's better than all of them. I never knew that either. I never knew that he played 27 instruments better than anybody on the planet. That's not human. That's superhuman, just that alone. And then how much music he wrote was incredible. He couldn't stop putting music out. And privately, he was creating music so much that, as you all know now, he's got this massive vault underneath Paisley Park. Well, I know that vault very well. I know the content that's in it. And I can tell you, we can release an album every year for the next 100 years, and you're going to have some smash hits from Prince years after his passing. It's now like 7-8 years. Just wait, 20 years from now, Prince is going to be releasing brand new albums that nobody's ever heard, and it's because it's all sitting there in the vault. That's how much music came out of him. He embodied music. He was music. And that comes from some of the biggest musicians in the world that I've spoken to. They all wanted to be a part of him. They all wanted to be in his presence because everybody knew there was something otherworldly about this person. How can anybody do that? How can anybody perform, write all those songs, write songs for other people, jump up on pianos in high heels and do somersaults? How could people do that? There's a song, I like so much, right? But there's one song that's obscure, and it does something to me, and I don't know why. It's almost like just a riff, and it's called The War. I don't know if you've ever heard of it.
The War.
The War? Have you ever heard of it? It's not very popular. It's not the biggest song of his, but I don't know why, for me, it just does something. It's like I could feel him. It's a very, very long song. It goes on for 20 minutes, like a half an hour or something. And it changes feelings and moods, which is really astounding. Like, we hear lots of music like that, but for Prince to do that, it's like he's telling a story musically, and I just love it. And I really understand it. Like, I understand what he's doing. Here's a guy who performs every genre of music impeccably. He plays every instrument perfectly. All the big stars say that he's better than they are. How is someone so perfect like that? But his storytelling it's poetic. Even if it's raw or sexy or whatever, there's just something so poetic about it. And I think that's what his fans really resonate with. But the fans, and one thing I haven't told you is, many of the fans felt that they saved their life, that he saved their lives because of that androgynous time. So in the early years when people were gay, they couldn't come out because, for ridicule of their family. And it was a very difficult time for anyone gay coming out. And many of them have told me, I've interviewed many people who have said this really heavy, heavy thing to say, Prince saved my life. Like, how does, what? Because of a song, whatever. And they had never, in those years, no one had ever seen anyone that projected that kind of unity, and it's okay to be you. That was the earlier years. And those were the people that, one man I tell a story about, his father was a truck driver and very strong guy, and his son was terrified. He was, this guy that I interviewed, his son, he said, I have to kill myself. I have to take my life because there's no way when my father finds out, he's either going to kill me or the community is going to kill me, because back then, if you were gay, forget it. So he planned his suicide, and he was about to carry it out. And he found Prince, and it just resonated with him that it's just okay. You're not strange, you're not off. Everyone, and that's where I come back to unity, right? We're all together. We've all had problems. We've all had our issues in life. We've all had difficulties. Me? I never look to me.
And so is the camera?
Reading, please.
Reading?
Yes.
Oh, can you read?
Oh, what did I write? So yeah, I'm always on a journey of seeking the meaning of life. Why are we here? What are we doing? Growing myself, and I'm getting, the older I get, I'm getting very close. And when I find it, I'll tell you all the answer. But that's not verbatim, but that's who I am. I'm always seeking why we're here. Do you want me to read it exactly?
Oh no, you're good.
Okay.